Well, Joe, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but thank you for kicking this off. Our very first, I think, virtual lunch with President Keenan. Not sure I served lunch to anybody, but it's good to spend some time with you, even in this virtual format that we're all becoming accustomed to. Certainly the audience today, and I want to thank everybody, alumni and friends, stretches, as I understand it, from the North Shore down to Florida and all the way out to California. So we welcome all of you to spend some time with my very talented leadership team this afternoon to learn about what happened at the end of last year as we went into sort of COVID-19 response and our recovery as we plan for the fall. I also think out there in the audience, one of my colleagues, my good friend from Worcester, the Dean of the Presidents, President Barry Maloney from Worcester State University is joining us. If you're with us, Barry, thank you for doing that. Always great to have you with us. And most importantly, I want to thank President Joe Wamness for his leadership over the last 4 years of the Alumni Association and certainly his 2 decades of service to Salem State University. He has become just a wonderful friend. I know he's not going anywhere. We'll still be very involved and look forward to that continued relationship. So again, thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. We're going to have the opportunity, you'll hear from each, just about most of the members of my senior leadership team regarding academic affairs, student life, and other areas of campus life, certainly as we met the challenge of COVID-19. Let me first take the opportunity to say safety is always our first priority, and that is no different during the time of COVID-19 and what happened just in March. And in fact, was early March when Cheryl and I were talking about heading down to Florida to be with many of you for St. Patrick's Day Parade and all the wonderful activities we have down there in mid-March. And right around that time is when COVID was hitting here up in Massachusetts, and we decided not to go forward with that program down in Florida. And only a couple of days thereafter, the parade was actually canceled down in Florida. And as you know, it's since then what has happened. So what we were able to do, and quite frankly would not have been able to do without our remarkable faculty and staff here on campus, we shifted our entire program, administrative as well as academic, to remote instruction for the remainder of the semester, as many other institutions had to do. We were fortunate in that we had spring break to help us plan, and we took an extra week to make sure we were able to assist some of our faculty who had not taught in this modality before, and got assistance from many faculty who had done that. But again, I have to give a great shout out to our faculty and staff that really made that possible so that our students can continue to progress in their academic journey. I also want to say it was important, as many of our students, this was the first time learning fully remotely. We were very proactive. You'll hear from Dean Panzella later on this afternoon, talking about the approach that we had with our students, literally reaching out to every single student, and for some students providing technology, whether it's a Chromebook or even a hotspot, so that they were able to tune into their class instruction during the fall. We made some changes to academic policy as well to make sure that we're flexible enough for our students, and made our courses pass or no pass, if you will, in some students if they wanted to, and we're going to benefit in their GPA, we're able to do that. And again, later on, you'll hear a little bit more from Provost Silva and a lot of the things that he was able to do with our faculty to make sure that we address some of the concerns of our students. As we look to the fall, which is really where we're spending most of our time now, most of our summer classes have been online. Summer 2 begins shortly after the 4th of July. We will have some programming here on campus. We have a nursing program, a second-degree nursing program that will be on campus, as well as an occupational therapy program, and a few other academic classes that will be on campus, about 8 classes. And that was really a good pilot or test case, if you will, for really the repopulation of our full campus in the fall. And when I say repopulation in our full campus, it will look very different in fall of 2020 as compared to fall of 2019. And what do I mean by that? And again, Provost Silva will talk a little bit later, but in all likelihood, about a third of our classes will be in seat or traditionally here live on campus, and about 2/3 of our classes will continue to be remote and online. We had a lot of classes that were online before COVID, but this will be a little different for sure. The expectation on our campus is that everybody, students, faculty, and staff will be wearing masks, as you may know. That has been sort of the #1 way to reduce the spread of the COVID virus, along with other precautions that we will be taking, whether it's putting up plexiglass in highly trafficked areas where students gather and get services quite a bit, as well as just directional in terms of hallway passing and stairways. So our team, I'm proud to say, has been led by Jean Labonte and Dr. Elisa Castillo, our COVID task response team and recovery. They're putting together our implementation plan for the fall, along with many other people on our campus. So again, I want to thank all of you for your continued support. Nothing really happens without your support. Please stay connected, whether it's coming to campus and speaking to a class when you're able to do that in person again, attend an event, or just visit when it's safe to be able to do that. Your support has just been tremendous, especially during this COVID and coronavirus time period. You know, we celebrated the Viking Warrior Day not that long ago and raised over $200,000 for our Student Emergency Fund. And you will hear a little bit later as well from Bonnie Galinski and how we were able to use a lot of those proceeds, given the challenges, the financial challenges and otherwise facing our students this fall with their families. I also be remiss if I didn't mention, as we discuss the coronavirus pandemic today, I also want to assure you that the racial unrest in our country is also on top of our mind. Our hearts go out to and with our Black students, faculty, and staff, and all the people of color as they process the senseless deaths of George Floyd and countless other Black civilians. Our communities of color have also been disproportionately harmed by the pandemic, both in healthcare, the economy, and in other ways. And as you may know, almost 37% of our undergraduates identify as students of color. In the semester ahead, we will be talking more about this. We have made great strides on our campus to meet the needs of our diverse population, but still have a lot of work to do. We are looking forward to determine if any of our policies or procedures provide inequities to our campus. We, I'm proud to say, and you'll have an opportunity to hear from him in just a few moments, we just welcomed our new Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion. Many of you had the opportunity to know and get to work with Rebecca Martin. So happy to have, Rebecca Latin, excuse me. So happy to have Dr. Sean Bennett join us now and look forward to his leadership, even though it's everyone's job on campus to make sure that we create a welcome community. I will say Dr. Bennett is only in his 4th week. He hit the ground running and has been on campus virtually with us since the day he arrived on June 2nd, and look forward to his assistance. He joins us from RIT, where he served most recently as the Assistant Dean of Academic Operations and Student Success. Dr. Bennett brings with him over 2 decades of combined K-12 and higher ed experience, including leadership and diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Like many of our students and our staff, Dr. Bennett is also proudly a first gen. He is very enthusiastic about making a difference on our campus and joins us now to say a few words. Dr. Bennett, if you're with us, can you please step up to the microphone and welcome yourself to campus?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your virtual lunch. It is a real pleasure to so publicly be able to thank people who have been at the faculty, staff, student, and leadership levels of Salem State welcoming me to campus in this virtual environment. It hasn't been easy for anyone, and it certainly hasn't been easy for everyone in light of COVID-19 and the challenges that are going on across the country with regard to Black Lives Matter and social justice. I'm honored to be here for a variety of reasons, and I keep finding new reasons to be excited about my connections here. As President Keenan was kind enough to mention, I am coming from the Rochester Institute of Technology, but I'm also a native of Rochester, New York. And if you know anything at all about Rochester, New York, you know that it is the home of both Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony. It's something that's a proud historical point for that region of New York State. And I was so incredibly pleased to find the connection when I started to research Salem State to Frederick Douglass's daughter, Rosetta Douglass, the daughter of an activist who traveled to Salem, Massachusetts in the Salem Normal School in order to gain access to higher education that she was finding challenges in receiving in Western New York. So that's just sort of a bit of history that just resonated with me as I arrived here. I continue to be excited by the work that has been done here, not only on campus, but the greater Salem community is such an impressive community with regard to issues of social justice and access. And I am really enthusiastic about the opportunity to eventually get to meet you in person, but also continuing to be part of these online conversations with colleagues across the campus and building on the amazing work that has been done in so many different places. Out of respect for time, I am going to take this opportunity to pass the virtual microphone over to our provost, Dr. Silva, and I will provide him with an opportunity to provide a few brief comments and continue our agenda. Thank you so much for everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Silva. I'm the Provost and Academic Vice President here at Salem State, and welcome to this lunchtime virtual gathering. I'm pleased to have a chance to connect with you all. As President Keenan mentioned in his opening remarks, what happened this spring semester was nothing short of miraculous. When we began in January, we were expecting a spring semester like any other spring semester that would culminate ultimately in a wonderful graduation celebration followed by an amazing alumni weekend. Unfortunately, the world had different plans for us and everybody else, and we found ourselves having to make some very important decisions in a very quick amount of time. So as the president alluded to, we were at the spring break part of the semester when we were confronted with the reality that we would have to move our curriculum online. So we took the extraordinary decision to effectively extend spring break by an additional week, and that gave our faculty the time to make some very, very radical adjustments. And as the provost, the chief academic officer, I can't thank the faculty enough for moving so thoroughly and so quickly in such a short amount of time. It was a Herculean effort, and what touched me the most, both personally and professionally, was the extent to which people came together to make it happen. So we made it through the spring semester. We made some adjustments to our grading scheme, given the fact that our students were also expecting a very normal spring semester, and that's not what any of us had. So as the president alluded to, we worked through our governance process, a pass, no pass grading policy for the spring, which had an option for those students who had done well in their classes to have those recorded as full letter grades. For some students really wanted those full letter grades. So we gave a lot of agency to our students in terms of how this COVID spring semester would be memorialized on their transcripts, looking for ways to assure that students weren't unduly burdened or negatively impacted by these sudden changes in how we delivered our curriculum. Our summer one term is winding down. It is completely online. Our summer two term will begin on July the 6th, and we will have a handful of courses in summer two that will have face-to-face components. This is important for us to do in summer two for a couple of reasons. First of all, there are some kinds of teaching that really do require in-person engagement, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But also we want to be able to have a controlled experiment, if you will, to determine how we would be able to deliver face-to-face instruction come the fall. So we have about 7 courses. We've worked very, very carefully across the campus, bringing in safety and health and academics. And we had some training with those faculty earlier this week so that we are all clear on what it means to be appropriately distanced, to be appropriately protocoled, to ensure the health and safety not only of our students, but of the faculty who deliver their classes, and by important extension, their families and communities. Because what happens here at Salem State, as you know, has ripple effects through our families and our communities. So we are working through that, and we'll be starting that summer second session on July the 6th. In the meantime, we have also put together a framework that will help us work through the fall semester. And that framework has two important characteristics. First of all, it makes explicit what the teaching modalities will be. And those teaching modalities range from fully face-to-face to hybrid, all the way to fully online. But even then, fully online has three flavors to it: an asynchronous mode, a synchronous mode, and a blended mode where you have both synchronous and asynchronous learning going on. We've had conversations with our faculty to get a sense of how they need to deliver their curriculum and to try to the best of our capacity to match up an appropriate modality with the curriculum. In addition to identifying those modalities, we've also established a prioritization framework for which courses on our campus must be prioritized for some level of face-to-face instruction. And most critically, courses that require the use of instrumentation, materials, such as in a science lab or a studio course, will be given those priorities. In addition, as many of you know, we offer a lot of courses that require what we call embodied teaching experiences. For example, preclinical healthcare classes in which a student and instructor must engage directly to learn the kinds of skills that are required to go into the clinical setting at a later date. So those courses, as well as some courses in movement and in dance, have also been prioritized. Another group of courses we prioritize are what we're calling foundation setting courses. First year writing courses, oral communication courses, and our first year seminar classes, to look for a way to give those first year students who will be new to Salem State in September as much of a college experience that they might choose to have, because we will be having students living on campus, and you'll hear more about that in a moment. So with this framework in place that talks about modalities and prioritization, we are in an excellent place to know what our fall semester is going to look like, and we will have a final schedule for the fall published by July the 1st. So if you or somebody you know is looking to see what kind of modality their class might be for the fall, keep your eyes on that schedule for July 1st. We, in the meantime, have been supporting students in remote ways as effectively as we can, and it's been working out very, very well. Our advising team and our faculty advisors have been extraordinarily gracious and generous with their time and their flexibility, because if a student needed advising, and this, unfortunately, COVID happened just as we were starting advising for the fall, so we advised by phone, we advised on FaceTime, we advised by Zoom, we advised by Microsoft Teams. Whatever it took, we made sure to make that connection with our students to get the advising done. We've also invested in a new software package that really brings students into a space with us so that we can connect with students where they live on their cell phones. So this new package, it's called Navigate, and it provides a way for us to do some case management with our students, but it also provides students with the means of being their own advocates and connecting with us in the kind of handheld technology for which many of them are truly native. So I guess I would finish with this. You know, the school motto, translated from the Latin, is forward together. If ever there were time in my 5 years at Salem State, I've seen us move forward together, it's been these past few months. And for that, I'm exceedingly grateful, and you as alumni should be exceedingly proud. So thank you for your presence here today and your time. And I do believe it is my responsibility to turn the meeting over next to Dr. Panzella. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Thank you, Carla.
Hi, Vikings. Dr. Carla Panzella, Associate Vice President and Dean of Students. As Provost Silva shared with you and President Keenan earlier, it has been a whirlwind for our students and faculty and staff and probably all of you. But I do think that we have moved together, forward together. And I will just give a quick outline of some of the things that we've done and that we will be doing. So you get a sense of how we continue to work in this environment, although I will be really frank with you and say it is very challenging to do so, particularly for our students, but they are resilient, if nothing else, and have really adapted. But we wanted to provide them with as much support as they made the transition. So as soon as we moved off campus, we also moved close to 1,800 resident students off campus as well. keeping in mind that about 160 students didn't have a home to go to or a safe place to reside. And so we maintained them on campus and consolidated them into our facilities that had cooking and the ability to kind of remain for the long haul. That also includes some international students who had some trouble getting home. And I just share that tidbit with you because I can only imagine some of their challenges in thinking about this much broader context of COVID and how it truly is a global situation. Some of them still remain in our housing today because they still have not been able to get home to China is the majority of our students right now that are having challenges. So we knew that we would have a tough time reaching every student or asking them to reach us if they had a problem. So what we did was we employed a care case management program. And so everybody in student life, folks in institutional advancement, CAE, the Navigation Center, really campus-wide participated in outreach to students. And a full-time staff member and graduate students that work for us called every single student, graduate, undergraduate, and evening. We did campaigns through the Navigate app that Provost Silva shared with you. And they set up appointments through Zoom or telephone to meet with students who kind of wanted to connect. They connected with 3,500 students in the sense that those students had questions or concerns or just wanted to talk to somebody, and referrals were made to the appropriate offices after that. And so it was really wonderful. Some students told us that they're all set and they don't need us any further, that they're making the transition, but other students were extremely grateful for the outreach, and they did not feel like they could have made the transition without that support. Through that support, we learned of some challenges, and we helped students get IT support, and our ITS department was great partners in sharing Chromebooks with our students. So we deployed directly to their home computers and hotspots and support on how to get internet so that they can do their academic work remotely. We also deployed about $50,000 just from the student life area. My colleague Bonnie Galinski will talk a little bit about some other money that has been deployed as well for students to pay a few dollars toward their rent. They were unemployed, they were unable to buy food, that sort of thing. And so we were able to help get them through the really tough portion of the COVID. We know that our students continue to need that support. And so I know at some point I was to share with you how you can continue to help, and your gifts and treasures continue to help support our students. And your giving is really what keeps them going and giving them the ability to remain in school. So I want to thank you for that. We also quickly transitioned to telecounseling and telehealth. And so our counselors were available via Zoom and phone as well. And our engagement didn't stop. We were sending kits to students' homes, and we had classes of fitness classes and activities for students to do as groups, independently, as teams. It was pretty wonderful. Our athletics folks did videos and demonstrated their Viking pride throughout the entire process and put together a great Viking Vespies. So that's a piece that they did really well. We've transitioned fully online for orientation and Viking Plunge. So students are currently, new students are participating in that, learning about what it means to be a Viking virtually. And in the fall, we hope to welcome about 1,200 resident students in single room occupancy to keep them as safe as possible and really as comfortable as possible. That's really the key to that piece. And there'll be engagement and support opportunities for them as well. I think I will answer the question about athletics is still unknown whether we will have a full season in the fall. We're waiting, and folks are working really hard to come to that decision as quickly as possible. But we do plan on having a very robust fall with a portion of it being in seat and a portion of that being remote. So thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that we're doing in student life and how we're supporting our students and getting them engaged in campus life remotely and in seat. I'm going to introduce, I believe, Chief Jean Labonte, our Chief of Police, and also the co-chair of the COVID team. Jean, is that right? You could just pop up on the screen if you're next.
That's right.
Great.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Panzella mentioned, I'm Jean Levante. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Public Safety and Risk Management and the Chief of Police here on campus, and also a proud Salem State graduate, class of 1989. So I welcome all my fellow alums this afternoon. So my role, as was mentioned by the president, is co-leading the COVID response team here on campus, along with my my partner, Dr. Elisa Castillo, the Assistant Dean of Wellness. And Elisa and I have been working what seems like nonstop since about February. As we started monitoring COVID. Actually, even before that, in January, we started monitoring the effects of COVID around the world. And as we started to learn more about it, we took the first step of updating our campus pandemic emergency response plan to account for some of the nuances of what we were learning about COVID, to make sure that we were fully prepared in the event that it migrated over our way, which in fact, unfortunately, it did. Shortly thereafter, in March, we stood up our emergency operations team and our COVID response team, and began nonstop coordination with our federal, state, and local agencies to monitor and assess all of the information from the CDC, the Department of Public Health, the college, American College Health Association, and a number of other agencies around the country and around the world, as things are evolving with this virus. You know, one of the first things we were confronted with was a number of students abroad. You know, other parts of the world were being affected by COVID much sooner than we were here in the United States, and we did have a number of our students abroad. So we needed to coordinate a safe return of all of our students who were abroad, and luckily we were able to do that. Shortly thereafter, and kind of in concert with the decision to extend spring break, which, you know, the timing was actually pretty beneficial for us with as things were really starting to heat up here in Massachusetts. We were going into spring break, and then we extended the break, and we shortly thereafter made the decision to close the residence halls and not have our students return back to housing, and transition all of our all of our learning online, and all of our employees to remote work. And since then, you know, as the faculty, as the provost mentioned, we're doing a tremendous amount of work transitioning all of those classes online, continuing with the educational mission of the university. Elisa and I and the rest of the COVID response team really, continue to monitor and make sure that everybody was as safe as possible on campus, because we did have some students still residing here and some limited employees still working here. At present, really where we are now is working towards summer 2 session, and more importantly towards the fall. As the president mentioned, health and safety is first and foremost on our minds in everything that we're doing. We're monitoring guidance that's coming to us from our partners at the state level. The governor's reopening task force released guidance for return to work and reopening the state, and the sector-specific guidance for higher ed was something that we keyed in on pretty significantly. We are at a point now where we're working towards a repopulation and implementation plan. We're working very hard to get that completed for a safe return to campus. We're at a point now where the state allows us to have 25% of our workforce on campus and up to 50% as we migrate from phase 2 to phase 3, the various phases in the state here. And we're taking a very conservative approach to returning people to campus. We want to make sure that the campus is fully prepared to receive those students and those employees. Part of our plan is to provide detailed guidance for everyone returning to campus. We will have a re-entry orientation program that all of our employees and our students are going to need to participate in to really understand what is essentially the new normal here on campus. There will be, classes happening in seat in person, and students residing in our residence halls, and other activities happening on campus. And it's extremely important that everyone understands the parameters that we're going to have to operate in, which is going to include the physical distancing that we've unfortunately all become accustomed to, the wearing of face coverings in public spaces at all times on campus, the limitations on gatherings, which in a college environment for our students is extremely difficult. They come here for the college experience. They want to be together. They want to socialize, and unfortunately, those gatherings are going to be limited. Other things we're working on is reconfiguring classrooms and reconfiguring workspaces in order to meet the physical distancing requirements and make sure that the activities that we're allowing to move forward and the classes that are happening, are going to do so in a safe manner. So even those classes that are happening in seat, students are going to be spread out, a little bit more than they're used to. There won't be as many students in the classroom. Classrooms may be happening in non-traditional spaces to allow for us to populate a certain number of classes, a little bit more so, so that, it may not be a traditional classroom. You may be in a hall, in a gymnasium, depending on which spaces we can be prepared to host our students. So. I think at this point, I will turn it over to Bonnie Galinski, who is going to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's nice to see everyone here today and have this virtual meeting. I'm Bonnie Galinski, Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. And in enrollment management, it includes admissions, financial aid, student account, registrar, enrollment management operations, and the Student Navigation Center. My priorities are to make sure we strategically and effectively market Salem State to prospective students so that we enroll a strong class each semester and that we support our students as they navigate their way to the finish line. The higher education landscape, especially in the Northeast, has been very challenging in recent years, due to a significant drop in high school graduates and increased competition. And students leave because of a combination of financial, personal, and academic challenges. And now we have COVID. We have a high need, diverse student population that requires additional financial and academic support. Our campus community is working together to provide these support structures. As Provost Silva mentioned, we implemented a new retention tool called Navigate. We've enhanced our financial aid strategy to make sure the students with the most need are getting the institutional funding that they do need. We have emergency grants, which thank you to everyone who contributed. Emergency grants are providing relief to our students. We also have some emergency funding that we were given through the CARES Act. And I will let you know, within hours of putting the application online, we had over 300 applications. We closed the application the other day with over 700 students applying for additional emergency money. We're also seeing a significant number of appeals from students who have been impacted by job loss due to COVID. We've set up virtual meetings with admissions, financial aid, and with the Student Navigation Center team, and we're committed to responding quickly, being flexible, and providing the support students need now. Right now, we're in the midst of enrolling our fall class and providing support and guidance for our returning students who haven't yet registered. So we're trying to give students the support and help them to register for this fall. I remain really encouraged by the fall commitments that we're seeing. And as mentioned before, we're being very flexible with deadlines. We adjusted our commitment date from May 1 to June 1, and we're adjusting other policies to help students as they navigate this difficult time. We're working hard to mitigate any enrollment decline that's been due to COVID, which began at a very critical point in our admission cycle and the semester. We had to reimagine all our practices. We quickly moved online. We dedicated a significant amount of outreach to our students individually so that we could provide guidance and resources that they need through online events. Our faculty held academic information sessions for them, And I've been truly grateful for our community coming together to support our students. And I'm really hopeful that our enrollment will stabilize as we move into the fall and spring semesters. And now I'd like to pass the virtual microphone to Cheryl Crounse.
Thank you, Bonnie, so much. It's wonderful to work with you and the team here today. Thank you so much. So many of you on the list that I recognized and wish I could actually see you, but social distancing and your health and safety is also at the forefront of our decision making. I'm Cheryl Crounse, and I have the wonderful pleasure of serving as Vice President of Institutional Advancement and the Executive Director of the Salem State University Foundation. Luckily, unlike many of the leaders on the call today, I've met a good portion of you and look forward to the time when we can be back together again. Obviously, COVID-19 has impacted everything we do in advancement and the ways in which we connect with you. And we seek to be as creative as possible and to keep that bond we have with you despite our distance. But we're always looking to hear from you and to hear how we can be doing that even better. So my email and phone is quite public, and I look forward to a time when we can talk or Zoom or connect one-on-one. But in the meantime, I'm excited to be here with my colleagues, updating you on the university and where we are headed. First, a bit about me. I come to my role as a beneficiary of public higher education, the first in my family to receive a bachelor's degree and having paid my entire way through college. I bring this lived experience to my work here in advancement and with a wonderful team that supports the work of the university that you heard about today. We seek to keep the Salem State experience and the quality of education that we provide possible for students today. The power of a public higher education degree is transformational, not only for the students, faculty, and staff on campus, but for the community around us. We enrich the lives of the students here, and they go out and enrich the lives and make a difference in our world. I'm happy to say in the era of COVID, it is no different. Our alumni far and wide are on the front lines. They're helping to combat COVID. They're the social workers, they're the teachers working from home to help our students get to the next grade. They're nurses on the front line helping our community get healthy. They're the grief counselors helping people to work through the losses they've experienced because of COVID. We know our alumni network is what makes our community strong, and we seek to preserve that in the students we educate here at Salem State. Your leadership team that you heard from today makes every single decision with the safety of our community in mind. And we do that because of our students and where they come from. We need your help. We can't do this work alone. We know that the university relies on philanthropy to make that extra edge of excellence happen. One of the things you may not know is state funding has significantly changed for the university. Back in the 80s, the student would front 30% of the cost, and today it's 70%. This leadership team that you heard from today wants to change that. We want to preserve affordability for our students, but we can't do that alone. We need your help. Philanthropy is what is going to help us meet the difference. It's going to be the extra $1,000 that helps that student get to the finish line. I just want to thank you. It's just an honor to be in this role, working with this wonderful leadership team, working with our wonderful alumni community to make a difference and to provide a 21st century vision for student success here at Salem State. Thank you so much. We hope you'll continue to stay involved and engaged and ask us lots of wonderful questions because we couldn't cover it all. But I will end with one little celebratory note. Despite COVID, the wonderful team in advancement and working with this leadership team has what I thought done the Herculean, which is raise $6.5 million despite the pandemic. We're doing it for our students, but we've got so much work to do, and we want to have a conversation with you if you're interested in helping us with that. Thank you so much for everything you do, but we hope you'll get involved. You'll, as President Keenan said, speak in a class, connect with students, join us on social media for the conversation and talk about the great work happening at the university. And if you believe in what we're doing, we hope you philanthropically get involved and invest in the Salem State mission. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to turn it over for question and answer, and please, 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 please join us, participate online, give us a call, connect with a student and hear their stories. They're much like yours. Go Vikings. I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Mitchell, who I have to thank for setting up this call in this Zoom today and for his leadership in the alumni team. He's going to manage the question and answer portion of the program. Mike?
Thank you, Cheryl. So questions will be asked in the order in which they were received. The first question up.
I'm going to ask my colleagues to unmute their video too, please.
So the first question received is going to be for President Keenan. And the question is sort of a combination of two, I should say. And folks are asking any considerations, special fee assessments, other unexpected fees or costs that may be assessed to students in the upcoming year due to the COVID-19 situation or any other financial impact that it may have on the community. If you could elaborate on that, please.
I'll say a few words and then maybe Bonnie can step in as well, Bonnie Galinski. We don't expect any special fees this year related to COVID. However, I will say, quite frankly, operationally, it's going to cost a lot more to open the doors and repopulate our campus in the fall for lots of reasons, whether it's the additional PPE, protective personal equipment, or other things that we're doing to make sure that the campus is as safe as possible. Dr. Panzella also mentioned that we are limiting residence halls to single rooms only. That comes with a cost as well in terms of reducing or de-densifying our campus, which we believe will also make it more safe. So we're doing everything we possibly can. As Jean Levante and the rest of us have said, safety is our top priority for our faculty, for our staff, and certainly our students. But we do not expect any special fees. Bonnie, would you like to add to that at all?
Sure, just wanted to make one comment is several of us have talked about policies and processes and what makes sense. A couple of items I just want to mention is we removed the online per credit fee for any online courses, so students will not, that's removed moving forward. We also have reduced the parking fee for our commuter students so that there's been a reduction there. And we typically would require our commuter students to take on a meal plan, and we made some changes there. So just making sure that our policies and our processes align with what's realistic during COVID. So those were some changes that have been made.
Thank you. The next question is for Dr. Sean Bennett. Wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on what some of your goals for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion may be.
Absolutely. I think first and most importantly, as someone who's been here for 4 weeks, I really need to acknowledge the foundation work that was established by Rebecca Latin before I arrived here. So there is a tremendous amount of work that has been done with regard to our employee resource groups, the kinds of supports that our faculty provide to students on a day-to-day basis. Much of the administrative work that is done through Carla Panzella and her group as they work very closely with students and support the student initiatives, clubs, and programs there. I'm at this moment getting a real full view of some great work. I think our opportunity moving forward is to be more effective in communicating that work and looking for new opportunities to support students in a variety of ways, from their professional development through their scholarship, through the resources that they might need in order to continue to be successful while they're here, and certainly successful beyond their time here at Salem State.
Thank you, Dr. Bennett. And I just want to remind everybody watching from home that you can use the Q&A feature on the Zoom client to enable yourself to ask a question of our panelists. Our next question, I'll leave this to the entire panel. Besides financial donations, what, if anything, can supporters of Salem State and Salem residents do to help the university during this time? I don't know if there's anybody that wants to take that from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm going to step into that, and then maybe Carla, maybe you want to answer in terms of our student needs. One thing I will always say, one of the primary reasons we serve our students here is to help them be successful, both academically, but as well find their passion in their profession. So the things you could do as an employer or a business owner here locally is perhaps offer an internship or a summer job, or even going into the fall. As most of our students, more than 75% of our students have two jobs as they go forward. There's nothing really better than an internship or a job to enable our students to not only help pay their way through college, as Cheryl mentioned she has done and many of us have done, but also to find their path and where they want to go and what they want to do when they leave here. So that would certainly be a way that you could assist, in addition to providing financial aid and support for scholarships that are always welcome. Dean Panzella, would you like to add to that?
Sure, I would echo your sentiments about sharing their stories and their path with students, and offering any opportunity for us to learn from them via jobs or internships, or just coming in and sharing their stories with our students. A lot of students have imposter syndrome and believe that they don't belong here, and this is exactly where they belong. And maybe you had that same experience too, and sharing that and being successful will help them see that they can do it as well. The other pieces I would share is the food pantry. We stock that regularly, and there would be opportunity to continue to donate to that if you're local. Certainly that is semi-financial, but sometimes you clean out your cupboards, and we're happy to take your items. They do like Pop-Tarts. I'm just going to put that out there.
Who doesn't?
Right, exactly. And I would say that we have alumni and supporters and folks who care about the institution, who participate in clubs and organizations. They find a club and organization that is interesting to them, or an affinity group that matches their interests, and they participate. They join, they contribute their stories there as well, their time. They come to their celebrations, and they provide some moral support and as well as financial. And we have quite a few folks who do that through the Alumni Affair Association and otherwise, that I don't think the students would be as successful or have such a fulfilling, enriched experience without that portion of it. So happy to include you in on that as well. And Bonnie?
I just wanted to comment, if you know a student who hasn't committed to an institution yet, or they're looking for a wonderful place to get their education, refer them to Salem State. Our application is open, and we are there to help guide them. And you know so well what an incredible community and experience you get at Salem State. Just want to make that comment.
And one additional way you can get involved is we have a number of volunteer groups on campus that get engaged in the work of the university. We're always looking for strong volunteers. So if there's something you want to help with specifically, we probably can link you in. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Bennett, I know we talked even during your interview about the importance of mentors. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, either informal or formally.
I think mentors developmentally are critically important. I speak from the standpoint of being a first-generation college student. I have parents who love me dearly, but were not necessarily able to give me advice or guidance that could help me deal with some of the struggles of being a college student, of finding that first job, of thinking about career and career planning. So I think the beauty of that kind of work is that it can be both short-term and long-term. There are tremendous opportunities to just make yourself available to be an ear for an individual consultation. And then clearly there's some initiatives that we have on campus that have already been established where there's some long-term mentoring opportunities as well. And I do think developmentally it's a huge opportunity for all of us. I think we as mentors learn from those experiences as much as our students do in those situations.
Thank you, everyone. We'll just entertain a couple more, and then we'll turn it back over to President Keenan to close us out this afternoon. The next question, I believe, will be geared for Provost Silva. Wondering if you can talk about any future considerations and plans for our international student population.
Yes, international student population. Two elements to consider there. One are bringing new international students in. I will admit has become a very difficult task. As you may not know, consular offices around the world are currently closed, and so the issuance of visas and whatnot has really been held up. So we have many, many students who are out there who are looking to come to the United States and to Salem State to pursue a degree. In cases where we have some organized partnerships around the world, particularly as was noted earlier with some institutions in China, we are looking for ways to set up alternative means by which we can deliver a Salem State experience to those students even when they live on the other side of the globe. And in fact, in October, the president and I will be present at 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. to confer degrees to Chinese students who will be at 8:30 a.m. and 10 o'clock a.m. So we are willing to go that mile. For the students who are here, we've made some really special efforts to ensure that that we continue to be connected with them because they are far from home, and we realize what that means, particularly when they're coming from countries in which the COVID pandemic has proven to be cause for serious alarm. So I know that we've done everything from sort of beef up the presence of our Center for International Education located in the Sullivan Building, continue to reach out to those students. The staff there does a wonderful job keeping contact and making sure those students stay connected. And then we've also worked very closely with Student Life to make sure that our international students, their special circumstances are recognized because they can't simply get in a car and drive back to Fitchburg and be home. So that we need to make allowances for them in terms of where they're living and how they're living and what those circumstances are. So it's really being attentive to the needs that are unique to international students. I'm hopeful that when this pandemic is over, we can continue the work that I and the team in the CIE have really started to build our international profile. You'd be happy to know that we have students from more countries than we ever had in the past. We've made some particularly strong inroads in places like China, Vietnam, Brazil, and many countries in West Africa. So you may not know, I am the son of immigrants, first-generation college student myself, and I have had several living experiences abroad. So international education is near and dear to my heart and is very much part of my identity as a scholar and as an administrator. So if you are an international person and looking to make a difference, please contact me or the Center for International Education, and we will work with you to see perhaps you can be a mentor to an international student. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost Silva. And at this time, I would also just like to announce that for those individuals who have submitted a question, if we aren't able to get to it today, we will get an answer for you and email it to you directly. This last question we'll pose to President Keenan. Are we entertaining a freeze in tuition and fees until the COVID pandemic is behind us?
No, actually, just 2 weeks ago, our Board of Trustees approved a slight increase, I think 3.5% increase on our fee for next year. As I mentioned, we're trying to do it. We balance as many things as we can. A very difficult year looking at the next fiscal year. We don't even yet know what the state budget is going to be or the state appropriation. It's always a last resort to raise fees, and we try to do it minimally. But we are raising the fee 3.5% going into next year. And that will be posted recently in the next couple of weeks, I believe is correct.
Thank you, President Keenan. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to you to close our program out this afternoon.
Great. Certainly, Mike, I want to thank you first and foremost for pulling us all together virtually here this afternoon. So have an opportunity to answer some questions and let you know where we've been and more importantly, where we're going. I want to recognize and certainly thank everyone. You all realize how fortunate I am to have such a great senior team who are experts in their fields and on top of the game as we move forward and really try to assist our students to achieve their success in the years ahead. I want to thank Joe Wamness again for his leadership these last 4 years as president of the Alumni Association. I don't know if he's stuck in virtual world someplace. Hopefully you're able to come back and join us, Joe, but thank you for your leadership. I also must congratulate, and I think Kathy Scrabut's online with us. She's stepping up to president of the foundation. I want to thank her for her continued leadership and being her willingness to step into that new role. Certainly Cheryl and an entire IA team, most of whom you probably already know. We look forward to getting back to you in person soon. That being said, I also want to say for the first time in our history of the speaker series, the 39th year, I think, Cheryl, we will be having our first virtual speaker series event in 39 years. Dr. Paul Farmer will be joining us again. You have the date on that, Cheryl?
July 15th at 6 p.m.
July 15th at 6 p.m. As you may know, he's a leading worldwide expert on contact tracing, something that's critically important as we deal with the COVID here in the local community, but also at Salem State. We hope that Governor Baker is going to be able to join us for either opening remarks or an introduction as well. He has done a fantastic job, I believe, as our governor, making sure that we stay safe. So again, it was a wonderful opportunity to get together with you. As you all know, many of you that I've met and seen in person, I am an extreme extrovert. I can't wait to get back to be able to see all of you in person when we're able to have live events on campus in Florida or wherever it is on the West Coast. I look forward to that. And most importantly, thank you so much for your continued support of our students. We really could not do it. We really could not do it without you. And thank you for the support of our team and the many different ways that you can help us, help our students find success. So again, I hope that you all stay safe and well, enjoy some of the summer, and we look forward to seeing you in person soon. Have a great day.
Thank you for being with us.